up, everybody? Welcome back to my random horror review series. I am your host, Mood616, and thank you once again for stopping in, guys. Yes, episode 82 is here on my random horror review series, and we've got a film here from 2009 from way across the world, from our great land of Germany, and it goes by the name of Petite Mort. Probably completely said that wrong, but you know, I'm not good with the accents and stuff. This film right here is written and directed by Marcel Walz. I do know the director's name, and I've heard of him before. I just have never really checked out much of his filmography. But I think after watching these films right here, I'm going to have to go back and check out some of his films. Hopefully I can find some of his films with English subtitles. Like a lot of German releases, they don't have English subs, but fortunately enough, these two films actually do have English subs. So again, these are subtitled. You're gonna have to read these, but yeah, both these films are actually presented by Ryan Nicholson. I'm not 100% sure how he was involved with the first one. It just says it was presented by Ryan Nicholson. Maybe he was like an executive producer on the film. I'm not 100% sure, but we'll get into the second one after this one. But getting into the synopsis of Petite Mort, basically it's about these three travelers, girlfriend and boyfriend and their friend. They're kind of stuck in Frankfurt. Their flight has been delayed to their destination, where they're going to go, do some R&R. And so basically they got some time to kill. So they do some shopping out, out in these streets and stuff. Something happens to them out in the street, so they decide to get off the streets. So they decide to go have a drink at this bar, which leads them into this kind of like very dingy S&M club, which they didn't actually know was an S&M club. So they go in there and right away they realize this is not the place for them. Something happens inside there and they get abducted, and of course they end up down in the torture dungeon of Petite Mort, and then that's where a film takes place. Now my thoughts on this film. Now going into this one, I'm not gonna lie, I thought it was gonna be really, really low budget and just kind of lowbrow stuff. To my amazement, yes, the storyline is exactly like Hostel. It's basically a German version of Hostel. But to my amazement, man, Marcel Walz is a professional director. This one had me right from the start, gripped me right from the start. Great aerial overhead shots, a lot of really awesome kind of, boom shots, and really well done stuff. The look and the cinematography right off the bat had me hooked. Now, the full aesthetic of the film is just fantastic too. It's been color corrected after the fact with this kind of low green tint that really adds to the element and the overall feel to the film. It's fantastic. Along with this amazing cinematography and awesome editing in this film, the aesthetic look is just fantastic. So right there had me gripped. Again, going back to the storyline, it's very basic. It's like Hostel and stuff. So what you're going to get here is just people getting tortured and killed in this torture basement and stuff. And which kind of leads me into the effects and stuff, which are done by Olaf Ittenbach, who is a major underground player in German, splatter and German gore films and stuff. We all know the name Olaf Ittenbach. If you've never seen an Olaf Ittenbach film, after this review, go and check him out and stuff. Check out some of his work. He's very, very notorious. So that had me hooked right there. I was like, wow, Olaf Ittenbach did effects on this. Yes, the effects are very, very well done in this. There's some nastiness to it. Like I said, there's three main characters in this film. So there's like basically three people getting tortured in this one. There's not a whole lot. Well, maybe a couple other people too. But it is pretty nasty and stuff. It's not as extreme as I was hoping it was going to be, but it was still very, very satisfying for the gore hound. If you're into torture porn, torture gore films, definitely give this one a shot. I thought it was actually very well done, along with the music and stuff and the acting. I think what really sold this film for me inside the Petite Mort was the performance of Manouche. She is a German star, kind of thing, and she plays the mom. And basically she has these two daughters that kind of run the whole show, and they do all the torturing and stuff, and they're the ones that sell to the audiences. They do live stream deaths, and they also do in-house deaths too. Which are basically catered to rich people, exactly like Hostel. So with that said and stuff, her performance is just fantastic. She's very, very demonic, very evil, very diminishing to everyone's souls as you watch her perform. It's really, really nasty stuff. But yeah, overall, very impressed with this film. Between, the direction in the film and stuff, it's not much for a story, but man, I was blown away by the overall look of this film. Very professionally done. And if I had to rate this one, I'm going to give it about a 7 out of 10. fantastic stuff. So if you're looking for kind of a new gore film to check out that you've never seen before, like I said, storyline nothing new, but it might fulfill your needs for the gore and stuff like that. So actually, one little final note about this one, I was very surprised at almost the lack of nudity in this film too. Like Ryan Nicholson films and a lot of these type of gore torture films stuff, you generally see a lot of nudity and kind of extreme elements like that. Not really in this one. I was quite surprised by that. So that was another kind of shocking moment for myself too. But overall, good film. Definitely check this out. Let's move on to part 2. Alright, so moving into 2014 with La Petite Mort 2, The Nasty Tapes. Yes, this one right here is also presented by Ryan Nicholson. And apparently he was like a guest director on this film also. I have no idea what he directed in this film, but I do know that he is the one that did the special effects on part 2 instead of Olaf Ittenbach, with of course his wife Megan, who do the makeup and gore effects for this film. Basically what we have for a storyline in this one, it's not really much of a storyline. It kind of follows the events of the first one. I guess it has a little bit of continuity, where Manouche has actually sold her torture dungeon to another guy and his wife, and now they're running the whole show, and they're doing the same thing. They're doing live stream deaths for money, and of course in-house tortures and stuff for big time euros and shit like that. But this time it's kind of shot like in a documentary, almost like a mockumentary style type film, where there is a camera crew there. So there's a lot of breaking the fourth wall type deal. They don't really give you a lot of information why they're there and stuff. They're just kind of documenting what is going on and stuff like that. And what we get here in beginning of the film is the same character, Jezebel. She is actually with another girl presenting it as, like, for the home viewers. You're gonna be watching a series of nasty tapes. These are, the tapes from this torture dungeon. So that's how it's presented to you. It's basically done in segments. It kind of introduces the specs of people, your victims, and the people that are doing the killing and stuff. And it's just a series of torture tapes, basically, is what this one is. So my thoughts on this one, in my honest opinion, I think the sequel of the storyline to this movie was a little weak, I don't know, man. I wish they actually had to put a story to this instead of just showcasing a bunch of torture scenes over and over and over again. Unlike the first one, this one does have a lot more torture scenes. It's probably got a good 10 different scenes in this film. But with that said, it's actually a little bit less satisfying as the first one. Because of, the lack of creativity within the kills and stuff. I'm not saying that Ryan Nicholson's effects were bad in this. There just weren't a lot of them to really fully satisfy, for a gorehound and stuff like that. With that said, a lot of the scenes were pretty quick and stuff. It kind of gets very, very repetitive within itself. And a little bit boring, to be honest. I wish they had have kind of thrown in a little bit of a subplot into the film just to kind of fill it in a little bit more. I guess they did kind of with the end, but the end is pure laughable. The end of this film is just absolutely hilarity to do with the owner and stuff like that. But yeah, pretty much all you're getting here is just a series of tortures, people coming in and talking to the camera and explaining why they're there and how they heard about the place and things like that. With that said, I was a little bit disappointed by the aesthetics of the film. Also, after seeing the first one and the awesome color correction with the green tinge and the awesome cinematography, the content in this film doesn't really allow Marcel Walz to really kind of showcase his ability to shoot a film very, very well, because it's just a lot of close-ups, a lot of torture and stuff. You don't get to see those long boom shots, those long still panning shots and stuff like that in this film. So the aesthetic of the film is very, very much not there. And, I was even surprised with the lack of females and a lot of characters that are in this film, with the lack of nudity also. That was kind of another very, very surprising thing. But, to say the least, it was actually still pretty entertaining. A tad bit boring because, like I said, it gets a little bit repetitive. But I was just kind of shocked by the lack of creativity in the kills. I think that was the most shocking thing for myself because, some of them were just like to the point where it was like, really? Like, that's all they're going to do to that person kind of thing? You're expecting bigger things from the sequel, because generally what we get in sequels is a bigger spectrum of blood and gore and things like that. That's generally what people try to do in these type of films. I understand that they were trying to go a little bit bigger with the amount of kills and stuff. It just didn't show on screen for myself. But yeah, I gotta say, man, like, you know, with the lack of the storyline, just what it develops into like the last scene in the film had me in stitches, man. This shit was funny as hell, man. Really, really funny. You do get a mixed bag here. Of course, the film is in German with their main characters and stuff, but you do get a little bit of English because there is some English people. Like, this guy comes over from Canada and he's just all pumped to, you know, kill somebody and drink a beer after, you know, kind of things. But yeah, you know, this one is very, very basic. I was, like I said, you know, very disappointed by the storyline. Wish they had done something else with it, just had a subplot in there and stuff. But, you know, it is what it is, man. It still had its decent moments. There still was some decent, you know, not interior shots, but outerior shots and stuff like that. I thought it was pretty good, which I wish they had done a little bit more with, because they did look really good. You tell there's a little bit of color correction done in this film, but not a whole lot. But, yeah, a little bit disappointing. I'm going to end up giving this one about a 5.5 out of 10. Definitely not as entertaining as the first one, but as a back-to-back double feature, pretty satisfying stuff. It's a pretty decent way to spend 2.5 hours just watching torture porn, and that's essentially what this is. It's kind of set up like a porno. It doesn't really have a storyline, and it just has scene after scene after scene introduced by a little bit of specs. So it actually just displays itself just like a porno. It's actually quite funny. So yeah, man, I recommend these films, man. If you're really into this type of German, you know, gore films and torture-esque films. If you're not into this, stay far, far clear of these. These will not be for you. And yeah, so that is going to do it for La Petite Mort and La Petite Mort 2, the Nasty Tapes. Very, very interesting watches. I got to go back and check out some of this guy's work, because I was very impressed with the cinematography in these films. Very, very cool stuff. I hope his other films kind of look like that too, but yeah, so guys, that's going to do it for episode 82, and I will check you guys right away. I got a bunch more reviews coming up here, so stay tuned for those, some more real nasty ones, and a little bit different ones too and stuff, so stay tuned to those, and as usual,